We need to, for the rest of the shot,
Okay, all right. And I don't have the light on you.
Hey, 89.1. We're showing progress right now on Lance's drawing of me. We got two heaters going. It's 48 degrees in LA, which is the equivalent of 5 degrees below zero in any other part of the country. So I'm keeping my shirt on tonight, I believe. You've seen enough of me, you know.
Dude, we should get a blue one though.
All right, I'll get a blue one. Should we start over?
No, it's okay. We're still.
All right, so
we're
we're
color
not color
correcting.
correcting
Yeah.
the day. All right, you got it? Because we've got many important. We have to talk to the viewers now. There are millions of people watching.
Blue?
Yeah. It's a yellow light.
Wait, hold on a second.
Is it going?
I don't know why it's not like autofocusing as fast as it should be.
Can you edit this stuff out?
No, this is the shit that people like.
They like this stuff?
I think so.
Well, listen, while you're doing this, is volume on because you can answer the guy's
Yeah,
question?
there's volume, yes.
Okay, so a guy wrote with a very complicated question about monetary policy and Keynesian economics. Keynesian?
Okay, I know which one now. Before, because this is a different temperature color light. That one's tungsten, this one is
All right, do you need to color correct again?
well, it's just we have two different color temperatures. Like
Yeah,
mine is blue
Yeah, all right. Well,
and you're red. So let's just color correct again with this light. But you can
All right.
can you get the blue napkin again? Sorry.
all right, so I got asked I've only had one semester of economics, so I'm not qualified to answer the question,
Thank you.
except to say that national debt is generally not a problem in a growing economy. The U.S. has had some amount of debt for at least the past 120 years. And we have a lot of debt now, but it's not the worst thing in the world. The way it works now is it's an investment. Other countries are investing in us. They're buying our debt, and so they have a stake in us not falling apart.
Turn your head away.
Okay, so debt's not terrible.
Raise your head up.
Okay, so I guess I'm a Keynesian. I like the idea of when the economy needs stimulus, that the government issues debt, but again, I'm pretty ignorant about all this stuff. The interesting thing is there a way to have a decent economy in a lower growth environment? Because capitalism, the way we do it, the way the world does it, is based on growth. That you need to sell more and more stuff. You need industries that get bigger and bigger. And I assume that'll continue to be okay. That with all the new technology that'll be coming over the next 100 years and beyond, the economy should continue to grow. And with that, we've reached the level of my small amount of knowledge, and I apologize for being dumb about economics, but that's all I know.
Do you really need this? You know, it's so loud.
Turn it down. No,
No, the noise.
yeah. All right, turn it off. I'll be cold.
Can you straighten out your arm a little bit more? Yeah.
Okay. All
Got
right.
it.
Okay. Now, Lance, you want to talk about abortion?
Yeah. Actually, I've been thinking about us recently, Rick.
Ooh, romantic.
Yeah.
It is Valentine's Day.
And it occurred to me that the problem isn't really that you and I disagree. The problem is that you don't know that you're a Republican because you can't believe that the Democrats could actually be evil and the Republicans could be good. And what's been happening is this. Okay, I'll give you an example so you understand what I'm talking about. For the past few weeks, I've been telling you things that the Democrats believe. And you've been saying, nah, they don't believe that. And then the whole argument has never been whether it was good or bad, because you agree with me that if they did believe that, they would be bad. The problem is that you don't believe that they believe that.
Yeah, because they don't.
Okay, well, you don't know what I'm going to say.
Well, I kind of do because I read all this. I read up on this, but go ahead.
You don't know what I'm going to say.
Here we go. So say it.
Here's the problem.
All right, say it.
When I first told you that they didn't believe in a border wall, or secure borders, you said, nah. They believe in strong borders. It's just a political thing to get Trump that they're not building a wall. And so even though they're voting against building a wall over and over again, you don't believe it. Then another thing is that I keep saying that they're against science and against, it turns out we're both for nuclear power, but the Democrats are against it.
Okay, well, hold on. Let's.
Well, wait. I'm leading to something. And
I know. All right.
There are only 3 issues you have to remember.
But let me semi-agree with you that, like, there is a certain segment, and not a small segment of, liberals. Some super liberal people have some beliefs that are dumb, like anti-vaxxers. I would guess that most anti-vaccination people tend to be on the liberal side of things. There might be some, I'm going to move to Idaho and be a survivalist. Those people might be anti-vaccination too, but I bet demographically, most loathsome anti-vaccination idiots are on the left. And yeah, so liberals can be idiots too.
Right, but that's not my argument, because I'm sure you can find things that Republicans believe that I don't believe. But my argument is that you don't know just how wrong the Democrats are. And the last thing that we really argued about was that I said that the left is supporting third-term abortion in case of the mother just deciding she doesn't want to have the baby.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Okay, now, I was unable to prove to convince you, that the law in New York was passed in order to allow third-term abortion on demand, just if the mother felt like it.
No.
Okay, now, the reason that it's based on whether a mother feels like it, just to bring everybody up to speed, is that the new law takes out the words unless the mother's life is greatly or health is greatly endangered.
No, the new law adds the words and life or health.
Right, and in Massachusetts and in Virginia, they've deliberately, both in general, these laws against third-term abortion always say, unless the health of the mother is gravely imperiled or gravely endangered. In other words, clearly she could die or be severely injured unless they abort the baby in the 3rd trimester. So in both Virginia, Massachusetts, and New York, they've changed the wording to just unless her health is an issue.
No, they added 2 words in New York. They added to life.
Danger to her health.
To life or health.
So right, or health. Now, by just saying or health, that's where the wiggle room is. That's where they can say, well, her mental health is endangered. See, they did that on purpose, Rick, and they didn't tell you.
No, what they did was, now, Roe versus Wade has been the law of the land since 1973 for 45 plus years.
Yeah, the math's not important, Rick.
No, the deal is that Roe v. Wade says life or health, and the law in New York they changed to line up with Roe v. Wade.
Well, why did they need to do that, Rick?
because they didn't, as far as I know, and I don't know, is that to make sure that the deal is when somebody has a late in pregnancy abortion after 24 weeks, it's most of the time, and it's less than 1% of all abortions. It's generally because some tragic shit has happened where somebody gets some late news that the baby is, for instance, anencephalic. The baby doesn't have a brain. Or the baby is severely malformed and won't survive outside the womb for a number of reasons. It's almost always a parent, a mom, who wants to have the baby, who gets the news that the baby will either not survive outside the womb, or is already dead in the womb, or will be so malformed that the baby will have virtually, no quality of life.
Yeah, I know you believe that. Go ahead.
But I mean, that's the deal. That when you look at
No, I know that statistically that's the case, but why change the law? Why not just say, okay, what we've been doing all along is dealing with that issue, so why are we changing it now to be this vague term, or health, if it isn't to expand the possibilities of abortion?
No, this is what I think, without having read this, what I assume it is that, say at 26 weeks, the mom has an ultrasound or a late arriving genetic test, and the doctor says, we believe your baby only has a brain stem and no brain. You're carrying
I understand. You just said that.
Yeah, right.
But
under the law, carrying this baby to term will not endanger you. But basically, what you have is an unviable, brainless baby. But because of the law, you have to carry this baby without a brain for another 3 months, another 14 weeks to term and deliver it. Because the law says we cannot abort this.
I understand.
Yeah, so I believe it's designed to give qualified medical professionals, doctors, the legal right to address tragic, latent pregnancy situations.
Got it. Okay. Now I'm going to explain to you, in practice, what's been going on is people have been using those phrases, or health, in order to have an abortion whenever they feel like it.
Who? What are your examples?
That's what the practice is in these states. When they change the name to or health, that gives people wiggle room to have an abortion whenever they feel
Do you know of a single case where a mom felt bad and said, because the cases I read, the doctor said, well, obviously, in the case of a viable baby.
I understand that, Rick, but there are cases, and I don't know the names and addresses of the women.
Did you read?
I read that there were lawyers saying that this was happening, and they're seeing it. Okay? But
what lawyers? What lawyers for whom?
Rick, I don't know the name of the lawyer,
the address because the articles I read had specific doctors.
I can assure you. Look. It gives people wiggle room because it's vague. Or health could mean mental health.
All right, so this is the deal. We're going to have to stop down. We're going to have to find. I'm not going to go on. Can you find me a lawyer who can cite a specific instance where this happened? So if you can't, because the articles I read had doctors.
Find a lawyer then you give specific names of babies that are born without brains. Where that helps them. Give a specific case.
I'll give you the articles I read where the doctor said, of course, if there's an instance where a mom can't carry. Hold on, let me finish my sentence. Where a mom can't carry a baby to a full 40-week term, but the baby is viable at 30 weeks, at 31 weeks, at 28 weeks. The doctor says, of course, in an instance like that, we are going to deliver the baby.
Give a specific name in the case.
I'll give you the articles if we break.
No,
I'll show you the fucking articles where the specific doctor is quoted saying, of course we're not going to kill the baby if the baby is viable.
Wait, Rick.
But I want to know, these are doctors who practice, these are OBGYNs and abortionists who say we're not going to kill a viable baby. We're going to deliver the baby and help it to survive. And if the mom doesn't want it, so I can show you those articles.
Rick, you've been filibustering now for about every
Can you
single...
show me the lawyer shit?
I don't know what's going on mentally with you right now.
Go ahead.
But you're not allowing me to speak.
Go ahead.
Now, you've been talking excessively. I'm going to make a point right now, and I don't want you to interrupt me or yell. Okay?
Fine.
All right. Now, rather than trying to find specific cases where this is occurring, I found something much more obvious so that we don't have to go into legal reviews to prove to you that this is happening. This is much, much easier to understand for you, okay?
Go ahead.
I found a different article. Now, because the Democrats seem to be trying to push through third-term abortion bills around the United States, in Virginia, Massachusetts, and New York, and probably others, the Republicans have gotten freaked out. And they're saying, look, this is infanticide. So this week, they raised a bill in Congress, in the Senate, and the House. 3 times they put this bill up. And I can find you this bill.
Just tell me what the bill says.
You need to stop talking while I tell you, okay? And then we can look it up if you insist. The bill says this. The Democratic Party, the Democrats, the baby killers, this isn't what the bill says. This is what the Republicans are saying.
Tell me what the bill says.
Rick, you need to just let me speak, okay? Now, what happens is this. When an abortion is performed in the 3rd trimester, very often, and I don't know the exact number or the names of the hospitals, but very often the baby lives. So when it's pulled out of the woman's body in the 7th, 8th, or 9th month and lives, doctors have been strangling the baby or killing it. And what the bill says is that if the baby comes out of the mother's body in the 3rd trimester and is alive, the Democrat doctor is not allowed to kill it. Now, this bill came up 3 times, and in each time this week, the Democrats, the baby killers, voted it down so that the doctor would still be able to murder the fetus that it had just yanked out of the body that was not dead or dying. In fact, what the bill stated was that if a baby was born prematurely, this premature baby would be incubated or given whatever care is necessary to keep it alive. But during an abortion, the very same baby is murdered by the doctor, sometimes by strangulation, sometimes by an incision in the neck. And all the Republicans wanted the baby killers to agree to, so I'm not going to call them Democratic or Democrat, I'm going to call them baby killers. All they wanted them to do was pass a law that you have to give the living baby that had survived the same care you would to a prematurely born baby that was wanted by the mother. But the baby killers, your party that you vote for, have voted that down 3 times this week. There. Now, I'm not interested, I don't need to prove to you that these new abortion laws are there so that a person can have an abortion in the third trimester because they feel like it.
Which is,
all I have to do is prove to you that the Democrats, the baby killers, want to kill babies that have survived an abortion. And I want to know why you still vote for these people and why you don't understand, why you're so brainwashed. What is going on that you can't separate yourself from this evil party when you yourself know that this is immoral?
because it's mostly horseshit. Because
Prove it! I want to give you the bill right now.
No.
You can read it.
Why
Or do you believe it?
I understand it.
You don't have to look it up.
No, yeah, you don't have to look it up. I believe you.
Okay, good.
But here's what I think. I heard an article. I see a lot of stuff on the internet, and I saw, without reading the whole thing, I saw an argument from a couple of years ago that Roe v. Wade has actually been worse for the Democrats than not having Roe v. Wade, because it acts like such a lightning rod for conservatives, to motivate conservatives to get out there and vote against this evil baby killing case, that it's really kind of screwed over the Democrats on a number of other issues, because it infuriates a certain segment of Republicans, a large segment, and it gets them out there to vote against Democrats. Now, I don't buy that argument entirely, and I don't, but I would say this about that bill. Abortion laws are lightning rods. And I understand, I believe, without knowing much, I assume that the Democrats don't want to vote for this law for two reasons. One is slippery slope, which we see on the other side with like gun control laws, where legislation that seems fairly, well, not innocuous, but like it's not going to change the entire land, like against outlying bump stocks on rifles. That, it seems like the impact of that on the world of owning guns and using guns wouldn't be extreme. So yeah, make them illegal, but Second Amendment proponents, largely Republicans, don't want to vote for any kind of limit on guns because it seems like a slippery slope. So I assume similarly, Democrats don't want to vote for this because it seems like an anti-abortion slippery slope. That's thing one. Thing two is, and don't jump on me yet because I'm going to semi-agree with you. Thing two is that Democrats might fear that in the case of like a baby without a brain can live for like a week after being born. And I feel like Democrats might be afraid that a baby that under this law that they voted against, a baby could be born without a brain or with similarly devastating birth defects, and doctors would be forced to keep this baby alive for as long as it can last, or be in violation of this law. Now, let me kind of agree with you here, where I would be tempted if I were, it doesn't make me a Republican, but if I were a legislator, to go ahead and go along with this law, even though it might cause misery for the parents of a baby that's not viable but can live for like a week without a brain, and the parents would have to, I might be in favor of voting for that law just to take this lightning rod away from the Republicans. It doesn't, I don't think it would apply in that many cases.
Oh, actually it does. You see, it turns out that since Roe versus Wade, there have been millions and millions of abortions in this country.
Well, I know the statistics.
And so, because of that, all these cases where you say it only happens 1% of the time, winds up being hundreds of thousands of babies.
Well, not hundreds of thousands, but all right. The
So
current
it seems-
abortion. Well, let me do numbers. You know, I love numbers. Abortions in the U.S. peaked in the 80s and 90s, and the abortion rate in the U.S. has dropped by about 50% since then. And the current number of abortions in the U.S. is in the mid 800,000s. So yeah, when you say less than 1%, you're still talking about, it could be 5, 6, 7, 8,000 late in pregnancy abortions every year.
Yeah. And so and we're talking about, you know, dozens of years. So there could be 80,000 babies that are being strangled by the doctors. And so all the Republicans are trying to say is, look, can you at least not actually murder babies that could live? But this evil party that you vote for wants to murder babies, Rick. There's really no way around it.
No, there's a lot of ways, because when doctors are interviewed, they say this is the deal, that in
Which
some
doctors?
cases.
Give me their names.
Well, if you want to
I
break,
want 100 names. I want to know every name of every doctor.
if we break, I can show you the articles.
Well, listen, I can show you an article. Let me tell you what got me this idea. There were two things. The first is, this article was sent to me by a guy named Efren Linares, I think is his last name, so I'd like to thank him. But secondly, I actually read an article years ago by a doctor that had given up practice doing abortions. And the reason he gave it up is that he wrote the article, he said that there was a day when he performed a late-term abortion and the baby lived. And he found himself strangling that baby to death because it wouldn't die. And so he realized at that moment, while he was strangling the baby, that he was a murderer. And your party supports that, even though you're against it.
Yeah, that's not really the deal. But the deal is
No, that is really the deal.
No. When you read more about
that is really the
like
deal. It was not a baby born without a brain. There are many, many, many babies that they pull out in the third trimester that are viable. They could live if only they were given medical care.
Okay, so
And this bill would have simply provided them with that.
I'm okay with that aspect of it.
Okay, and
but it doesn't make me a frickin' Republican. But the deal is,
there's more.
No. Let me talk for just a second. Like I've read doctors interviewed who said that in some cases they do try to, when a non-viable baby is born or is taken out of the womb or whatever, depending on the preferences of the parents, some parents want to, hold the baby, commemorate the baby, celebrate the baby, even though the baby will not live for very long. But it's a decision between the doctors and the parents.
Actually, it isn't. It isn't, Rick. It's a decision between that baby and Satan. That baby gets a vote. I don't hate babies like Democrats do. That baby has a right. It's a human being. Once it's viable, that's murder.
I just said non-viable. There are plenty of babies who, well, not plenty, but on the scale of things that we're talking about, on the scale of maybe hundreds to several thousand cases a year, where the baby can be born alive but will not last very long.
But there are babies that would last if they were given medical treatment.
Okay, well...
And the Democrats want to kill them.
All right, well, this is a terrible situation.
No, it's not a terrible situation. What's terrible is that you're so brainwashed you can't turn against your party.
No, that's not it.
Even when they're murdering babies.
That's not it. If you've got a baby who's now, people can disagree about what degree of severe malformation or disability.
I'm talking about viable babies, Rick.
A baby can be viable.
The bill is talking about babies that survive and would live if they were given proper medical care.
And you know,
you'd rather be a baby killer than abandon your party.
No,
That's how brainwashed you are.
I'm willing to acknowledge that it's a miserable, complicated situation.
No, it's really complicated because you want to kill babies, Rick.
No, but I want people to
You want to be able to vote for a Democrat, even though all of them support this. The whole Democrat Party, all in the House of Representatives and the Senate, voted against saving these babies. And what's complicated is you want to help them, even though you know they're baby killers.
No, that's not what it is. It's
you still want to be able to vote for them.
No, it's people who care about babies.
No, they don't care about babies. They want them dead.
And that's just why. Why would they want them dead? It's the deal is
because they don't vote. Feminists vote. Babies
this
don't.
is just such bullshit. You've got babies that
Feminists vote. Babies don't vote.
The deal, like you've got people confronting horrible medical situations.
No, they're not horrible.
They've got
many of these babies are viable.
Yeah, maybe it's a baby with spina bifida.
No. According to the bill, it's a baby that could live. It doesn't specify spina bifida.
Yeah, but talk about the specifics of it because that's
even if half of them could live, that's thousands and thousands of
fine.
babies that you want to kill, Rick. You're a baby killer.
Nobody wants to. You say the Democrats want to kill healthy babies.
That's what the bill is meant to support.
Yeah, well, it's bullshit. Nobody wants to kill a fucking healthy baby.
But then why don't they vote for the bill?
Maybe they should. But the deal.
No. Should they or shouldn't they?
I think that they have the right not to. They don't have to. I think I would just to avoid giving the Republicans this kind of bullshit.
Not because you give a shit about the babies.
Well, you got to look at in each case. In each of these cases, it's a specific horrible problem.
The bill says any baby that would survive.
Yeah, but it's not any baby. It's a baby without a brain, or it's a baby with spina bifida. Let me talk about a baby with fucking spina bifida because I have a friend who was a baby with spina bifida. And in some instances, maybe a doctor would have advised, well, this baby isn't going to have quality of life. That baby grew up to be a man with a full life and a wife and a family and a career, and he loves life. And
you would have killed him. And so would your buddies, the Democrats.
But no, I'm saying it's a horrible judgment call.
It's not a judgment call. If the thing would live, you let it live.
Yeah, but it's a judgment call as to if somebody finds out at 18 weeks.
That's not what the bill specifies.
Yeah, but let's talk about it.
It's not talking about exceptions. It's saying if there are many of these babies will be healthy. Do you acknowledge that?
I don't know. I don't know the statistics.
The bill says that if the baby is pulled out at the 8th month or whenever and is viable, could live with normal medical treatment. It doesn't say spina bifida. It just says if the baby could live, do we keep it alive?
Yeah, but doctors are going to do that anyway. But that
They're not obligated to. Now they are murdering them.
But a doctor, by virtue of being a doctor, unless the doctor's a monster, and maybe there are some doctors who are fucking monsters. But I mean, because there are monsters in all walks of life. But a doctor who pulls out a viable 8-month fetus, baby, whatever you want to call it, is not going to kill a healthy 8-month.
I just told you 5 minutes ago that there was a doctor that gave up performing abortions because he had to strangle a viable baby because it was an abortion and he couldn't let it live. This is happening all the time, Rick.
I don't think it happens all the time.
Well, even if it happens once, shouldn't we have a law against it?
Fine.
Then you're not a Democrat.
No, I am a Democrat because you guys are so go back to 18 weeks with a baby with spina bifida. The doctor says your kid looks like your kid has it's spinal cord growing outside the body. Now, you have a decision to make. This baby is likely to face significant challenges throughout life because of this. Partial paralysis, this, that. You have to decide. But babies with this condition live, and can live, full lifespans. It's at 18 weeks. It's up to the parents. Do they want to deal with this? Do they want to have a kid who has to deal with this throughout life? Past 24 weeks. Because of viability, the situation changes, but it's a tough situation.
It's not tough. You just want to keep being able to vote Democrat because you're brainwashed.
What is the Democratic stand on illegal immigrants that kill citizens?
What is the what?
What is the Democratic stand on immigration in terms of, if we're talking about
Can you roll your sleeve up, please? Is that both ones?
Why don't I just take my shirt off?
What is the
I'm
stance?
warmed up now because we've been yelling.
What is the stance, the liberal stand in terms of illegal immigrants that kill citizens that aren't supposed to be here? Since we're talking about death, is that
Why are we talking about this at this point?
Because I want to segue to immigration and if the immigration policies are, the Democrats want to allow people to come across, right? But then there's people that come across and kill citizens. Is that cool?
Well, you say the Democrats what? Do you want open borders? Everybody just comes over? No, that's not what the Democrats want.
That is what the Democrats want.
No, you love to say that, but that's just not the deal.
Then why don't they vote for a wall?
Well, here's what I think. I think that some funding for border security will be at least temporarily settled within the next month or two. We're about 5 days away from another government shutdown if a deal isn't made. So either a deal will be made, or we'll have a shutdown, or Trump, who's scheduled to go down to El Paso this week to talk about border security, will declare a national emergency and say that he's just taking the funds to start building the wall, and then the Democrats will sue and it'll go to court. But I think, and we can have a bet if you want, I think that sometime within the next, just say, give me 3 months, that we will get funding for increased border security within 3 months.
People get the wall, will Trump get his wall?
Well, some of it's a matter of, we'll get something that Trump will be able to call the wall. And we'll get something that Democrats will be able to call increased border security, and the Democrats will go around saying it's not really a wall, and Trump will say, I got my wall, but we'll have something within a couple months. It's not going to be stalemate forever.
I have nothing to say.
Okay.
You have something to say about typhus, Rick?
Well, last week we talked about typhus. Lance said that immigrants are bringing typhus over the border and causing a typhus epidemic. And there was an article in the LA Times today, and I read a little bit more about typhus. And then I read the article you must have read that blames typhus almost entirely on conditions in Mexico and people from Mexico. And somebody who works at City Hall, this is what the LA Times article was about, came down with typhus. And turns out typhus isn't passed person to person, it's passed by fleas and rats and possums. And it flourishes in places where there's lots of trash and feces, and so what the article you read kind of spun it to make it seem
Can I tell you what I said? I
Sure.
I knew you were going to do this.
Go ahead.
The truth is that the reason for the typhus epidemic is because the Democrats have allowed homeless people to build tent cities on the streets of downtown. And my point is that some of the people in these tent cities are illegals that can't find work, and it's really irrelevant exactly how the typhus is spread, because my point is that illegal immigrants bring with them diseases because they're not vaccinated. And that's why we have typhus, but we also have measles and cholera and mumps and tuberculosis and a variety of diseases that are flourishing south of the border that we haven't had in this country for 100 years.
Well,
and we're now the illegals are bringing them with them.
So let me respond. You're saying something a little different, and something that's closer to the truth, I think, than what you said last week when you said it was illegals who were bringing typhus. So
well, they are.
Let me say.
A lot of them inhabit these.
All right. So let me agree with you. Let me set it up.
Sleeping on the street, these tent cities.
All right. So the deal is that that typhus is more prevalent south of the border. The way you prevent typhus is not via vaccination, but via delousing. If you get people as they cross the border, and this is where you do need to increase border security, you delouse them, which means that you scrub them down and you clean people up to the extent that they don't carry lice and fleas that will...
Don't you think they'll get more when they're living on our streets in LA and Texas?
Well, I agree that that's a problem because
Then why don't you want a wall?
Well, I looked up percentages of most people on LA Skid Row are not undocumented immigrants.
That's true. There are a lot of people that are just, drug addicts or down on their luck. But the problem is that the Democrats undid the law so that people could build tent cities on the street. And the Democrats are bringing in thousands of children from south of the border that have not been vaccinated for childhood diseases. And those diseases are now affecting our children. But because you don't want a wall, you're not going to stop it. You don't care about babies, and you don't care about our kids.
Yeah, that's just glib bullshit.
Well, prove me wrong, Rick.
I'm in favor of increased border security.
Increased border security.
And which includes a wall where a wall is appropriate.
I've said that 500 times. Then you're not a Democrat. There is a wedge between what you think your party believes and what they really believe. That's the problem. You'll do whatever they say. If they say vote for us, you'll do it. But you don't even know what they believe. That's the sign of a zombie. They're against a wall. They're in favor of infanticide. And you don't accept it.
No.
Alexandria Cortez just said that she's going to ban, she wants a target of getting rid of all fossil fuel and nuclear power within 10 years. And none of the major Democrats have disagreed with her. You're not in favor of that. You believe in nuclear power. And you realize that it's insane to try to get us off fossil fuel in 10 years. Why hasn't Nancy Pelosi or Cory Booker or Kamala Harris come out against her?
I don't know, because she's a freshman frickin'...
That's not a good reason, Rick.
I don't.
But you'll still vote for her, right?
No, because she's in New fucking York. And I will say that
if she was running against a typical Republican, would you vote for her?
Probably. I will say, I will give her the award for best frickin' congressional tweeter. Here's the trophy. To Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Best congressional tweeter there is. Best tweeter of the week. I mean, Trump tweets a lot, but a lot of his tweets are frickin' incoherent or filled with bullshit. Her tweets are entertaining. They're filled with useful links. They explain her positions, even if you consider them ill-advised, pretty well. She's just great at Twitter. And so here she is, your trophy. You can come pick it up in person, AOC. We'd love to have you here.
Show us the trophy.
Well, I don't want to. His thing is out. We'll show you this. We don't need to.
She can come pick it up.
Yes. Well, I don't know. This is an expensive thing. We'll come up with a cheaper version. This just happens to be handy.
Lance, if she comes to our show, will you give that trophy to her?
Sure.
Okay.
Oh well, you should come because this trophy is worth thousands of dollars. This is a fantastic work of artistry, anatomically correct, elegant in form, done by one of America's greatest realist artists. So yeah, come on the show. Argue with Lance, pick up your trophy. All right, let's break.
By the way, I kind of have to yell because the microphone's so far from us.
Oh.